Today, I'm showing you how I made this luxury faux leather traveler's notebook cover completely by hand, including the elastic binding system, the applique details, the chunky charm, and even how I solved an almost flimsy cover problem. Projects like these are incredibly popular with journal lovers, Etsy shoppers, and craft fair customers because they look high-end while still being beginner-friendly to make. So in today's video, I'm walking you through the entire process step by step, including the materials I tested, what worked best, and how to make the finished notebook feel sturdy and professional. I began by testing a few different types of glue to see which one would adhere best to the faux leather material without lifting or peeling over time. After testing several options, I found that art glitter glue gave me the strong hold and flexibility I was looking for this handmade traveler's journal cover. Once I saw that the art glitter glue had the strong hold I was looking for, I ran into another issue during the construction process. Even though the faux leather remained nice and flexible, the cover itself still felt a little too soft and flimsy for the luxurious feel I wanted this handmade traveler's journal cover to have. To solve that problem, I decided to sandwich watercolor paper between the two layers of faux leather, and that simple adjustment made a huge difference. The cover immediately felt sturdier, more durable, and much more like a high-end journal cover while still maintaining flexibility. My next step was cutting into the faux leather material. I started by making sure all of my lines were straight and evenly measured before trimming the cover pieces down to size. Since I'm using standard-size traveler's journal inserts for this project, I made the cover slightly taller than the inserts themselves, so the pages would have a more finished and protected look once everything was assembled. And here you see me preparing the second sheet for trimming. After trimming the watercolor paper that will be layered between the two faux leather sheets, I like to use a piece of tape to lift away any dust, fibers, or tiny particles that may be sitting on the faux leather surface before gluing everything together. This helps create a cleaner bond and gives the finished traveler's journal cover a much smoother, more professional look. Now we're ready to glue all three layers together. I'm applying a generous, even layer of glue across the entire surface, making sure to get as close to the edges as possible so everything adheres securely. This step is really important because it helps prevent lifting around the edges and gives the handmade traveler's notebook cover a much sturdier, more professional finish once it dries. Next, I carefully glue the faux leather sheet down onto the watercolor paper that we trimmed earlier, making sure everything lines up evenly before pressing it into place. This layered construction is what gives the traveler's journal cover that stronger, more structured feel while still keeping the flexibility of the faux leather material. Then we move on to attaching the second faux leather sheet to the opposite side of the watercolor paper. I carefully line everything up before pressing it down so the cover stays smooth and evenly aligned. Once all three layers are bonded together, the handmade traveler's journal cover starts to feel much more durable and substantial while still remaining soft and flexible. And last but not least, we're going to weigh everything down with a few heavy items like books, boxes, or anything else you have nearby to help the layers dry nice and flat. As you can see, I'm using this absolutely adorable flower bouquet my sister sent me for my birthday. Isn't it beautiful? Once everything is weighted down, I'm going to let the glue fully cure overnight so it has time to create a strong, secure bond. Then I'll come back the next day and continue working on the next step of our handmade traveler's notebook cover. And the next day, here I am trimming away any excess material from the journal cover, making sure to keep the edges as straight, clean, and smooth as possible. This step really helps give the handmade traveler's journal cover a more polished and professional finish before we move on to adding the decorative details and binding system. And before I begin punching any holes for the binding system, I'm going to create a template using the exact measurements of my journal cover. Whether you're planning to make just one handmade traveler's journal cover or several of them, I highly recommend taking the time to make a template first. That way, if any measuring mistakes happen along the way, those errors will happen on the template and not on your actual faux leather cover. And as you can see, I'm simply using a regular piece of cardstock from my stash to create the template for this handmade traveler's journal cover. Once the cardstock is trimmed down to the exact size of the cover, I use my scoring board to help map out where the binding holes will go. First, I fold the cardstock in half to find the exact center of the cover. That center fold becomes the main reference point for the elastic binding system. From there, I work outward from the middle mark to measure and mark the remaining holes. For this design, I measured 1/2 inch on each side of the center mark to create evenly spaced binding holes for the traveler's notebook inserts. Then I turn my template into a portrait position so I can measure the approximate distance from both the top and bottom edges of the cover where the binding holes should be placed. This helps keep the elastic binding system evenly balanced and gives the handmade traveler's notebook cover a cleaner, more professional appearance once the inserts are added. Next, we're going to line up the template with the faux leather cover and secure everything in place using whatever paper clips you have on hand. This helps keep the cover from shifting while marking the hole placements. Using a pen, I mark the spots where the guidelines meet, and those marks will serve as the placement guides for punching the holes for the elastic binding system. Taking your time during this step really helps keep the traveler's journal cover looking neat, balanced, and professionally assembled. You're also going to mark the center spot from where your elastic closure will go through. I'm using my long-reach crop-a-dial to punch the holes through the cover material. Even though this tool can be a bit of an investment, I highly recommend picking one up when you're able to, because it makes projects like this so much easier and more precise. If you plan on creating handmade journals for Etsy, craft fairs, or custom orders, you'll quickly find that tools like this pay for themselves over time, especially when you're making traveler's journal covers that have a more polished professional finish. Now I'm going to set the journal cover aside for a little while so we can work on creating a chunky charm for our handmade traveler's journal cover. Even though charm making can definitely feel like an acquired skill at first, I really want to encourage you to experiment and create, even if you don't own specialized jewelry making tools. You'd be surprised how many useful tools you may already have sitting in your household toolbox. And trust me, I am far from being an expert when it comes to charm making. But I've discovered that the more I practice and the more I learn how to work with my own hand limitations and mobility challenges, the better my charms continue to turn out. So if you're someone who also struggles with hand mobility or dexterity issues, don't get discouraged. Take your time, work at your own pace, and allow yourself room to learn and improve along the way. Sometimes the most beautiful handmade pieces come from simply refusing to give up on the creative process. Now I'm going to speed up the video just for a bit so that you can see the remainder of my charm making process.
Decorate your life.
So now I'm going to show you how I thread the elastic through the holes we punched earlier for the binding system. Since I'm a very visual learner myself, I thought it would be more helpful to play this portion of the tutorial in real time instead of over-explaining it with a lot of extra narration. That way, you can clearly see how the elastic loops through the traveler's journal cover and how everything comes together step by step.
Decorate your life. 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 Decorate your life.
So, what you saw in the last clip is that even though looping the elastic through the cover isn't necessarily difficult, it can take a little time and patience to get the tension adjusted just right. That's definitely something you'll want to experiment with for yourself, and you may even come up with a method that works better for you than the one I'm using here. And like I mentioned earlier, this is simply the process that works best for me personally, based on how I create and work with my own hand mobility limitations. I'm sharing my process in the hopes that it might help or encourage someone else out there who may also be adapting techniques to fit their own crafting style and abilities. I decided to add metal corners to my traveler's journal cover because I feel they give the finished piece a more elegant and unique look. Not only do they add decorative detail, but they also help give the journal cover a more polished, high-end finish. Many of the charms, metal embellishments, and other craft supplies you'll see throughout this tutorial are available in my shop at decorateyourlife.com. And if something happens to be sold out by the time you watch this video, be sure to add it to your wish list on our website. We regularly review our customers' wish list to see which products everyone is loving, so we can prioritize bringing those popular items back into stock whenever possible. Now, the next part we're going to work on is the elastic closure for the traveler's journal cover. You'll notice that I decided to use a thinner elastic for this section, and the reason for that is because I found the thicker elastic to be a little too bulky for this particular project. I didn't want it leaving deep marks or unnecessary pressure along the edges of the cover over time. Instead, I chose to work with a thinner elastic and simply double or even triple it to create a closure that still feels secure and snug without adding extra bulk. This ended up giving me the balance I was looking for between functionality, comfort, and maintaining the more elegant look of the handmade notebook cover. Now, for this next idea, I definitely want to give credit where credit is due. In one of our design team member videos, I saw how she used the center applique from this beautiful decorative trim, and I absolutely loved the elegant look it created. So I decided to incorporate that same idea into this handmade traveler's journal cover. I'll be sure to leave a link to Edwina's original video down in the description box below so you can check out her beautiful project and see where the inspiration for this detail came from. Edwina explained to me that she had added a backing to her applique so she could permanently adhere it to her project. At first, I started going in that direction as well, but then I remembered that I still wanted this handmade traveler's journal cover to remain soft and flexible rather than overly stiff. So instead of adding a backing this time around, I decided to simply hot glue the applique directly onto the top center portion of the cover. This gave me the elegant decorative detail I was looking for while still allowing the faux leather cover to keep its flexibility and comfortable feel. And once the applique was in place, I decided to accentuate it with this beautiful flat-back pearl and rhinestone embellishment from my shop. I love how this small detail instantly adds a more elegant, vintage-inspired touch to the handmade traveler's journal cover and helps bring the entire design together beautifully. Next, I decided to create a matching beaded pen using some of the beadable pen supplies available in my shop. After all, we can't have a beautiful traveler's journal without a writing tool to go with it. I really love how adding coordinating accessories like this helps make the entire handmade notebook feel even more special, personalized, and gift-worthy. I absolutely love how this beaded pen turned out, and I truly hope the recipient loves it just as much as I do. And yes, this handmade traveler's journal is already spoken for, and I honestly hope she enjoys every little detail that went into creating it, from the journal cover itself all the way down to the matching accessories and embellishments. In the first video of this series, where we transformed the plain journal inserts using this beautiful paper collection, I showed you how these credit card pockets can also be used as functional pockets inside the inserts. For this traveler's journal cover, we're going to take that idea a step further by adding these clear pockets to both sides of the cover as well. This gives the recipient extra space to tuck away journaling accessories, like tickets notes, photo stickers, or any little keepsakes they may want to save inside their handmade journal. I always love adding functional details like this because they make the notebook not only beautiful, but practical for everyday use too. And last but not least, we're going to work on adding the pen holder to our handmade traveler's journal cover. I personally like purchasing my traveler's notebook pen holders in bulk from Amazon because it's a convenient and budget-friendly option, especially if you plan on making multiple journals for Etsy, craft fairs and gifts, or custom orders. I really enjoy taking that extra step to coordinate the pen holder with the overall design of the traveler's journal cover. So in this part of the tutorial, I'm tracing and trimming a piece of cardstock from the paper collection so I can glue it onto the top portion of the pen holder. Little custom details like this may seem simple, but they really help give the finished handmade journal a more cohesive and thoughtfully designed look. And in our final step, we apply the pen holder to our traveler's journal back cover. I hope you found this luxury journal notebook cover tutorial both helpful and inspiring. I'll be sure to leave links to the other 2 videos in this series down in the description box below so you can follow the entire process from start to finish. And definitely consider saving this series to one of your crafting playlists so you can easily come back to it later whenever you're ready to create one of your own handmade traveler's journals. I'll also include links to our talented design team so you can find even more paper crafting inspiration using this beautiful collection. Thank you so much for spending time with me today, for supporting my channel, and for subscribing. It truly means so much to me. And of course, let me know down in the comments what other handmade journal, traveler's notebook, or paper crafting projects you'd like to see featured here on the channel so I can add them to my creative bucket list. Until next time, keep making something beautiful